Hi everyone, let's talk about Sensor Ghosts, which again is on Kickstarter right now, along with some expansions to Assembly, its predecessor. This is a sequel, but it's a completely different game. Hopefully you've seen the playthrough, and I'm not going to explain the whole thing here. I'll link it in the description if you haven't seen it. But in this game, in Assembly, we escaped from the spaceship out into vast open spaceness, and now we are trying to get back to Earth, but there's meteors in the way. We're trying to get a sample of a virus so that we can cure it, or Earth won't let us in. And yeah, that's done through having this great big grid of spaces, and we are trying to navigate it without meteors or red squares completely destroying us. Again, watch the playthrough, it's better than that explanation of it. But yeah, you can apply a lot of things that I said about Assembly to this game. Although the gameplay is fairly different, it's got, again, a really nice element of cooperation between the players in that we are deciding cards to play with. You can't spell out to the other player what you are going to do. You have to be a bit vague about it. You can't just say, well, I'm going to do this card and on this, and then you can do this card on this. It prevents quarterbacking that could be an issue in cooperative games, but it also adds that having that imperfect information in, as in something like Gloomhaven. You can't have that perfect plan because you don't know 100% what is going on. You have to get in tune with each other for that to work out. But once you have played your cards, you get to order them in the way that will hopefully be most beneficial to you. Or if you're playing the solo game, you don't have to worry about any of that. You don't have anyone to argue with. But yeah, this is a bit of a longer game than Assembly. But yeah, it's definitely satisfies some of the same things that Assembly does, while being quite different in its own right. Having the kind of it's more about pushing your luck in that you have actions, you have the deep scan, you have the rescan at the end of every turn, you have the peek action that can let you look at cards in different ways, and some of that has a memory element to it as well. I've mentioned that because that can be a hugely off-putting thing. I'm not so good at memory, but this is a small enough grid that you only have to worry yourself about some things at some time. You don't have to remember everything throughout the whole game, and it's quite a short game anyway, so it's not been an issue for me. But if you hate memory, it's got that element in there. Distracted myself by saying that now. So yeah, it's got that push your luck element to it, in that you can look at everything if you want to, but you're under a strict time limit, and you're probably not going to have time to do that. You're going to have to hedge your bets and just go along the path that seems right. And you can end up with games where you have just gone in the wrong direction, and now the time it's going to take you to backtrack, you just haven't got that time in the cards. And yeah, that some of that is just you maybe didn't peek at the right things, the stars just didn't align, luck wasn't on your side. That's going to be part of it. And I feel that, again, it's a short enough game for that to not be detracting from the experience. You can just set it up and go again. But it's not to say that it's a completely random thing either. What you decide to look at, where you decide to go, and as with Assembly, it's a game of timing as well, of doing things just right. You might be able to move into that perfect space, but the perfect space you've got in the row ahead of that is now going to slide to the left and might not be coming around again for ages, and it might just be terrible spaces on that row now. You really have to work out when you are going to do things and when you can cycle things along, what you're going to look at to try and find your perfect path, but then having that rescan element where, space isn't just, static things, it is always moving. And so having that represented in the game is cool from a thematic standpoint, but also, even if you know all of the information, you've got to time it perfectly so that the space that you really want is aligned with where you are headed. And having the extra thing of your fly or peak cards have an orientation to them. And if you have previously played one, if you are trying to just keep flying turn after turn after turn, changing direction is going to be a real pain because you are going to have to play multiple cards and potentially accelerate your downfall, because when the deck runs out, that's it. But yeah, it gives an extra element of planning, and maybe breaking up those flying actions with other things to reset that, because if the fly peak card isn't the top on the discard pile, you don't have to worry about matching the orientation. But in waiting, space has moved and maybe things have gone all wrong for you. Yeah, all of this really adds together for another, I think I've said this a million times now in this video, but yeah, while the experience and the visuals and everything are very distinct from assembly. The story carries on a bit. It definitely ticks a lot of those same boxes while being a great game in its own right. It's not like this is just Assembly 2 or something like that, although it is. It's different though. You get what I mean, don't you? But yeah, and probably recycling things that I said in Assembly, it does have, it's not a completely abstract game at all, but it does have, the abstracted map tiles and things. Yeah, if you're looking for something, with a cartoony art style or something that's going to really, draw you into that world, then it's more on the kind of, something you might see on the navigation computer of the ship, or, as assembly is more like blueprints or something like that, which is very thematic to the story. I know that can be off-putting to some people, though. Not for me. It's one of those things where I'm reaching to say things that I didn't like about it, so that, so that there's two sides to it. But who really cares? It's only commenters on the internet that would be annoyed if I didn't. Let's not get into that though. This is a happy time. That is Sense of Ghost. Hopefully the playthrough will do a much better job at helping you decide whether you would be interested in it than any of this waffling did. Thank you for sitting through it though. Watch more playthroughs. There's hundreds of them on this channel. Hopefully you will find some more games that you will love. I tripped over that sentence. That was going to be a nice little sign off to this video. They always fizzle out towards the end. Not the playthroughs though. They're brilliant. See you for the next game. Bye everyone.